The morning she pounded on my door, I was standing at the sink, rinsing my father's coffee mug. Her fist hit the wood like a judge's gavel. "Your fence is on my land," she said. "No, hello? No, how are you?" Just that I set the mug down. The steam fogged the window for a second. Behind her shoulder, I could see my pasture frost on the grass, my fence line running clean and straight like a zipper. I'd strung that line with my own hands, corner post to corner post. Same line my grandfather marked with cedar stakes 50 years ago? "I don't think so," I said. Calm, she folded her arms. I measured. "It's 18 inches over. Move it." That was the first shot. By sundown, she'd emailed the HOA board. By the end of the week, I had a notice with a fine and a deadline. It felt like someone had reached into my pocket and pulled out my last name. If you've ever had a neighbor like this, you know the tone. Every sentence sharpened like a knife. She never used my name, only the lot number. That evening, I walked the line. Boots crunching the frost. Fence wire humming, a soft metal whisper. My father's flag moved on the porch behind me, a slow flap. I checked every post, every brace. I knew it was true. But truth doesn't mean much when a committee decides what truth is. The next board meeting felt like a courtroom. She sat front row, stiff and proud. Her folder held internet maps, red circles drawn in a trembling hand. She said my fence was a pattern of encroachment. She said her azaleas were in jeopardy. I almost laughed, but it wasn't funny. I explained my deed descriptions. The plat recorded with the county. The old cedar stake, still standing, gray as bone, but solid. They nodded like they were listening, but their eyes said otherwise. The president looked at me like I was a problem to be solved, not a neighbor. They upheld the fine. 30 days to move the fence. I didn't sleep much that month. I built that fence after my father passed. It was therapy. Grief turned into straight lines and stretched wire. I could still hear his voice plummet. "Don't eyeball it." Plummet. I started keeping a file. Every letter, every email, photos of the markers. A copy of the plat, highlighted 4 times over. The county clerk slid the old survey across the counter like a relic. It felt like shaking hands with the past. But the HOA didn't care about the past. They cared about their checklist. Another fine came, then another, each one heavier than the last. Neighbors started choosing sides. Some waved. Some looked away. A few whispered sorry like it was a secret. The neighborhood got smaller by the day. Then came the morning she brought out a tape measure. I watched from the porch, coffee in hand. She had a friend hold one end while she stretched it toward her lawn. Then she smiled like she'd discovered gold. Took photos. Walked off. That night, another email. Subject line: "Further encroachment evidence." She copied the whole board. My stomach tightened. The next morning, I called the surveyor. His name was Carter. He sounded older, the kind of man who wears a hat even on the phone. "I'm 3 weeks out," he said. "I'll wait," I told him, "and I'll bring coffee." Those 3 weeks dragged like winter. Every day, those fines sat like stones in my gut. Every morning, I looked at that fence, my promise to my father, and wondered if I'd have to tear it down. I'd glance at the pictures of my kids on the fridge and remind myself, this fight isn't about wire or wood. It's about dignity, family, the right to stand on your own ground. I studied everything I could about boundary law, how monuments outrank measurements, how old stakes matter more than HOA rulers. Knowledge gave me steadiness, not for arguing, but for breathing. Then came the next hearing. She arrived early, binder in hand. I carried a notebook and my father's old tape measure in my pocket. Halfway through, a man in a faded denim jacket slipped in quietly and stood at the back. When the president called for final comments, the man stepped forward. "Name?" the president asked. "Carter," he said. "I'm the surveyor." The room shifted. He placed his case on the table and opened it slowly. Inside were stakes, flags, and a total station that looked like a little yellow robot. "I've set today to shoot this line," he said. "With your permission?" The president hesitated. She bristled. "We've already measured," she said. Carter smiled once. "Tape measures are for curtains." We all walked out together. Across the lawn, past her azaleas, which suddenly looked like props. The sky was a bright, clean blue. Carter set the tripod and found his backside on the county monument. He called out numbers. His assistant marked little flags that clicked in the breeze. He knelt by the old cedar stake. "Put a hand on it like checking a pulse." "Original corner," he said. "Still where it's supposed to be." He kept working quietly. Didn't look at me or her, just threw the eyepiece at the truth. An hour passed. Felt like a decade draining off my shoulders. Finally, he turned to us. "The fence is on his land," he said. The president blinked. "By how much?" "By exactly the amount she claims it's over, only the other way." Silence. Then a bird called from the cottonwood. She opened her mouth. "What about the neighborhood's visual line?" Carter just said, "Property lines aren't opinions." He pulled up the old cedar stake, soil clinging to its roots. "Your grandfather set this," he said to me. My throat tightened. "Yes," I said softly. "He did." Back inside, the board went into executive session. HOA code for "We've been wrong too long." When they came back, the president finally said, "Mr. Ward, we rescind the fines. We'll remove the violation." I nodded. No smile. Not yet. She stood, but her fight was gone. "The azaleas are beautiful," I said. "On your side?" I walked home under a clean sky. The flag on my porch snapped strong in the wind. I sat on the steps and let the cold wood press through my jeans. Carter handed me a copy of the survey. "I'll file it tomorrow," he said. We shook hands, the kind that says more than words. That night, for the first time in months, I slept easy. The next day, I got a letter from the board thanking me for my patience. No apology, but I didn't need one. A week later, I saw her in the cul-de-sac. She looked smaller somehow. I tipped my cap. She didn't tip back. That was fine. When the truth is heavy, some folks need both hands to hold it. That evening, I walked the fence one more time. The wire sang soft in the wind. The new survey flag fluttered beside the old cedar stake, 2 languages saying the same thing. My father would have liked that. I tightened one brace and looked out toward the lake. The water was smooth. My heart finally the same. Justice doesn't always arrive with sirens. Sometimes it shows up in khaki pants, carrying a tripod. Sometimes it sounds like a simple sentence. The fence is on his land. The next morning, I poured coffee into my father's mug and stood on the porch. The flag moved slow in the breeze. Somewhere down the road, a woodpecker knocked against a pine. Simple sounds. The kind that tell you your life is still yours. Here's what I've learned. Don't let someone's certainty place your own. Know your lines. Save your papers. Stand calm. You don't have to be loud to be unmovable. Have you ever faced an HOA like this? Tell me your story in the comments. I read everyone. And if you believe some fights are worth having, hit subscribe. Let's stand up together.